Does this guy look familiar? What about her? You've probably never seen her before. Or him, but they all have something in common. They're in STEM.
Meet Val, the science gal. Val, 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 Val! Science rules. Meet Val, the science gal.
Hi there, welcome to the lab. My name's Amy and I'm Val's lab assistant. I'm here to get you prepped for your activities today. So let's talk a little bit about STEM. Oh, sorry, not that STEM. I meant science, technology, engineering, and math. What's that, you may ask? Well, let's talk about it.
Science.
Science is the use of experiments to answer questions about the world around us.
Technology.
Technology is the application of knowledge to create solutions that make life easier.
Engineering.
Engineering focuses on using the information that scientists find out to design solutions for problems.
Mathematics.
Mathematics is a special type of work that focuses specifically on using numbers. So, when you're doing your math homework, you're actually being a mathematician. Careers in STEM often use all of these components. Examples of STEM careers include doctors, engineers, biologists, meteorologists, computer programmers, chemists, statisticians, physicists, zoologists, and so many more. What's that sound? That means it's time for a STEMsational activity. Let's go back to the lab with Beth.
It's time for a STEMsational activity.
You know, astrophysicists are a type of scientists that study the stars. They use STEM in their careers. Alright, here's your assignment. I'm imagining an astrophysicist in my head, and it's your job to figure out what this person looks like. So get out your lab manual and a pen and start drawing. Make sure you include lots of details, like what they're wearing, what kind of equipment they might use, or even what their hair looks like. If you need to pause the video for extra time, go ahead. Alright, time's up. This time, I'm imagining a different person. I'm imagining a nurse. Be sure to draw this person with the same kinds of details. What are they wearing? What equipment are they using? You can pause the video now. Alright, time's up. Look at your pictures of the astrophysicist and the nurse. Who drew the astrophysicist as a male? How about as a female? Who drew the nurse as a female? How about as a male? You may have drawn the astrophysicist as a man and the nurse as a woman, or maybe the other way. Why would this be? Shouldn't a boy or a girl be able to do whatever job they want? You're exactly right. They should. However, currently there is a larger number of men in jobs that use STEM than women. This brings us to our big idea for the day, women in STEM. Oh, hey, Grandma, come on in.
Well, hello there,
Hi, how are you?
sweetie. Just swell.
Good. I actually invited you today because we're talking about women in STEM, and I was hoping you could share some of your experiences with us, if that's okay.
I suppose I could do that.
Awesome. Okay, first question. What was your job, and how did you use STEM?
Well, I never used plants, so I never actually used stems.
No, not that kind of STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and math.
Ah, yes. So I worked in the lab with Dr. Lee, studying bacterial growth, and we actually discovered a new strain. But to work with those, we definitely utilized the scientific method to design experiments and math to analyze that data. And let me tell you, when that computer technology came out, it was like a whole new lab.
Really?
Yeah.
Made a big difference?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Would you say throughout the course of your career that you were treated differently because you were a woman?
Well, most of my colleagues were male, but they seemed to respect my work. But there was this one time, whenever I discovered that novel strain, that I attempted to put my work out there into the scientific community, and they didn't really consider it until one of the male colleagues in my lab put his name on the work, and then they accepted it.
So they just took your work, put their name on it, and got credit for it?
Yeah, kind of. That's kind of how it was back then. But it seems that discrimination is not really tolerated much anymore. And I've been in this field a while, and there seems to be more women coming into it, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Grandma. I'd love to stay and chat, but it's time for today's A Brief Look in History.
Today's historical lesson focuses on an important woman in STEM who impacted the history of STEM.
Okay, we don't have to talk like historians, but we are going to learn about history. Have you ever played a Wii? Or maybe an Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation? Believe it or not, a woman in STEM greatly contributed to the development of these gaming systems. Carla Meninsky was one of 2 females who helped in developing the Atari 2600 in the 1980s. She also developed 3 award-winning games for the Atari. This was rare at the time because women were not often involved in game design. She paved the way for future collaboration between men and women in the field of game design. Grandma Val, you doing okay?
I'm just getting angry at some birds. But you know that Carla Meninsky lady that you were talking about?
Meninsky, yeah.
Meninsky. Well, I remember when she helped develop that Atari, and that's all your mom wanted for her birthday that year.
Well, thanks, Grandma.
It's time for a sensational activity.
So remember a little bit earlier, we talked about women in STEM careers and how there aren't as many women as there are men? Let's take a closer look at why that may be. Some researchers have found that success in STEM careers is influenced early on in our lives. Teachers, friends, family, even parents have a big impact on how we feel about STEM. Sometimes these influences may make young girls feel like they aren't good enough to be in STEM careers. The most significant factors that seem to keep girls out of STEM are gender stereotypes and gender discrimination. Gender stereotypes are assumptions about the traits and abilities of people because they're either a boy or a girl. Gender discrimination is unfair treatment of another person because of their gender. Maybe this just sounded like a lot of words to you. Let's look at a video clip and see if we can identify gender discrimination and gender stereotype in action.
Yeah.
Woo!
I don't want to go. Teal. That's not a girl.
Man, all girls.
Okay. I'm not a woman, right?
So in this clip, students were picking players to be on their kickball teams. Did you notice any gender discrimination or gender stereotype? I sure did. It seems to me like there was a gender stereotype that girls are not as good at kickball as boys. This caused the boys to treat the girls unfairly when picking teams. They had unfair assumptions about the girls' abilities. They said things like, "No, I don't want a girl," or, "Oh man, only girls left." Let's look at another clip and see if we can identify the same things.
Get in, get in. Easy out, easy out. Alright, we got this. Are you ready? You got it? I don't think you can. Girls can't kick.
Did you notice that one of the fielders said, "I don't think you can do it," and the boys moved in closer when the girl was kicking? They assumed that the girl cannot kick as far as a boy. Let's pull out our lab manuals and use some of this information to write down examples of gender stereotype and gender discrimination from these clips and from your own life.
Even though these clips only showed kickball, it's important to remember that these kinds of things happen in areas that affect STEM. Sometimes people think that boys are better fit to do STEM than girls. This is not true. Anyone who wants to do STEM can pursue it. Let's go talk to an NC State student who proves that this is true. Hi, Sammy. Thanks for being with us today. We have a few questions for you. Who convinced you to be an engineer when you were growing up?
I would definitely say that my parents convinced me to become an engineer. They were always very strict on me doing what I love to do and what I was good at, and I was always good at math and science growing up, so now I'm an engineer.
That's so awesome. What are you studying here at State?
I just switched into textile engineering.
What's a textile engineer?
A textile engineer focuses on designing the fabrics and polymers inside of clothes, or like even this shirt or even a baseball bat, even like fabric of like this chair right here.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. As a woman in STEM, have you ever felt like you don't belong?
That's funny that you say that, because every time I tell someone that I'm an engineer, everyone's always like, "What? No way, like there's no way you can be a woman engineer." And it's just funny that people don't think that women can belong in engineering.
It's not right. It's definitely not right. What has your overall experience in STEM been like?
I've had a very good experience. One thing that definitely helped was I joined WISE last year, and it's a club here at NC State called Women in Science and Engineering, and they helped with figuring out what exactly they want to do in engineering and not to get stressed over all the workload and such.
That's awesome. What's your hope for the future of the STEM field, especially for women?
I hope that women like me can be a part of engineering and not be such a shock that we're in this field, and that more and more women as well as men decide to become in STEM.
Thank you so much, Sammy.
Thank you.
Women in STEM in the modern world take on a variety of different faces. More people than you think use STEM. Here's a challenge for you. Talk to the adults in your life. Ask them if they know what STEM is. Do they use STEM in their careers? Find a mentor who's in the STEM field who can share their experiences with you. Well, that's all for this time. I'm Val the Science Gal, and I'll see you next episode.